Setlist episode 10. Video store. Setlist episode 10. Video store. I can't. From the top. Setlist episode 10. Video store. Setlist episode 10. With Bill Cariola like he's a motherfucking genius. Yeah, it was a tough week for intros. I usually am like, oh, I have a couple routes to go, but this one it was like, nope, we have this lane, and we're gonna stay in this lane. But yeah, we finally made it to like double-digit episodes without changing our minds on the show. So good job for us, Andrew.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah. So our next guest on the show, as you can see by the title in the video, is kind of from popular demand. If you've been tagging along with the series, normally at the end of the show, I ask what kind of people you'd like to see, and I would say this, in Family Feud terms, this person was the number one answer.
Good answer.
So he said, "Yo, my guy, can you be on the show?" Yeah, he said absolutely. So let's get him on here, Mr. Bill Cariola. It's great. The two people that actually got to meet in this community, we're now here on a call.
I know, right? Should I have brought my guitar out for this too, or is that just your thing?
Oh, that would have been so cool. We should have talked about this beforehand.
No. Nobody looks directly at the Gretsch. Like, you just can't do it. I'm sorry. That thing is like my prized possession. So it goes in order of things I love most: my Gretsch, sex, and then breathing. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a hard three. It's a hard three.
So yeah, we'll just get right into the show. Basically, how it's going to work is, if you've never seen the show, we're going to ask the same 10 questions that we do every guest. So once you've watched the show the first time, you know exactly what you're getting into. The probably of the list that I've gotten so far, this is the most eclectic in terms of like I had to do a lot of digging for this one. So kudos to you, Bill, for expanding my knowledge.
Have you fucking met me yet?
All right, on to question number one. Who is your favorite artist?
Well, that was a short list, and anybody who knows me knows my favorite artist is The Descendants. If you were not familiar, they were kind of part of the, I guess, first wave punk explosion, the SoCal explosion that happened. It was like them and like Angry Samoans and like Black Flag, and I guess I would describe me discovering The Descendants as like a seismic event in my life. And that is the best way. Like, when you just find like an artist or something, and then it immediately, every bell in your head goes off going, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Like, this is exactly the kind of thing I want to get behind. And when I first heard of them, I had worked my first job was a comic book store when I was like 14, 15. So I've been like this a long time. And my boss's favorite band was like the Ramones. And so he liked a lot of that stuff. And I was just starting to get into punk. Like, I like the Misfits and I like the Dead Kennedys. And it was good and it was enjoyable. But it was never really like punk is my absolute favorite genre of music, and it always will be. It is like my first love, kind of. And I was starting to get into that. I started with like, the Nirvana explosion, and then I started finding bands like, Tad and the Melvins and stuff like that when that was all kind of happening. And I remember I was working one day. I think I was listening to, God, it might have been like Mudhoney. Yeah, I think I had just got Piece of Cake by Mudhoney, and I'm listening to that. And this guy's in the store. He's like, oh, we're talking for a bit. We're talking about music. He's like, and I'm starting to get into this other stuff too. He's like, have you ever heard of a band called The Descendants? I'm like, no. I was like, oh, you'd probably really like them. He's like, oh, you guys got a tape machine in the back. Here, take this copy. Like, just make a copy real quick. So I made a copy.
Should we explain that to?
So back, ask your grandparents. So we used to have machines called tape decks, and the way it worked was you could just do like pop one into one slot and then a tape into another slot, and then you could just hit record. So that was recording, because Milo Goes to College is 22 minutes and 42 seconds. That does not take long. So while he shot for his books, he made me the copy. I get home, I throw it on. The second I hear the opening notes of My Age, I am in love immediately. I have never heard a band like this before or since. And the thing I loved about this band was I could kind of relate to some of it. Like they were like kind of in the punk genre, but at the same time, these guys were like kind of dorks. Like they were kind of nerdy. They like a lot of their songs were like, this friggin' girl doesn't like me, and I'm kind of pissed about it. At the same time, they also write a song like "I Want to Be a Bear," making fun of shitting in the woods and that kind of thing. So I'm like, it toes the line of like comedy and ridiculous, but at the same time, and I'm like, I understand what these guys are talking about. And I wore Milo Goes to College is my favorite album of all time. I wore that album out. If I play it, I listen to it straight through. There is no skipping. There is no talking. Like, you just got to listen to that. It is just like, for me, the perfect album. So a little bit about me as a human being.
In terms of like the getting back into kind of the punk rock, I've always had a trouble defining this kind of subgenre of punk.
Yeah.
I always used to call it like thrash or like gypsy punk because of like kind of how fast it was and the kind of the chord progression that they use. But yeah, this is very very upbeat, very kind of in your face, and it's kind of what it's what punk is about. I always admire drummers in this field because they are often going a mile a minute the entirety of the album or the entirety of the concerts. Descendants are really cool. From what I've listened to so far, it's just like if you could take one band and have them represent a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, you would probably pick the Descendants because it'd be the perfect game to like kind of throw on like while you're skateboarding and whatnot. I wasn't a big fan of the first album, their 1986 album Enjoy. I just found it.
Milo Goes to College is their first album.
Oh, well, sorry, Milo Goes to.
Yeah, that's their first full. Oh. So in order of release, it is like the Bonus Fat EP. Then it goes Milo Goes to College. Then it's I Don't Want to Grow Up. Then it's Enjoy. Then it's Everything Sucks. Cool to Be You. Hyperspaz Caffeinate. So
Spotify is throwing me for a fucking loop because
Spotify's fucking dumb sometimes.
Yeah, Spotify has Enjoy, and then I Don't Want to Grow Up, and then it has Milo Goes to College as a 2022 release.
That is wildly inaccurate.
Yeah. Well,
that album came out when I was 2.
That was probably the re-release.
Maybe.
Probably. Milo Goes to College is a fucking unreal album. Like, while we're here, we may as well go to it. Tonnage is basically let's start the dial at 11, and we're gonna keep going until we hit about 15, and it just goes bonkers. But yeah, since my timeline's all fucked up now, we're just gonna go through each album. So yeah, Milo Goes to College. Tell me a little more.
So that album actually was released when, fun fact, Milo did in fact leave the band and go to college. He went away for a few years. That's why there's a big couple years gap between this and I Don't Want to Grow Up. So this is the original Descendants lineup. So Milo was the singer. Bill Stevenson is the drummer. Easily top 5 all time. I don't know how that guy does what he does. He is just like a human machine, and it is crazy. Frank Navetta is the guitar player, and he had a background in surf, and you could clearly tell. He pulls out some of the craziest riffs I've ever heard in an actual punk song. So kudos to him. And the bass player is this guy, Tony Lombardo. He was actually like 35, and these guys were like 20. He was just like a local, like kind of journeyman musician. And he's like, yeah, I'll play bass for you guys. And he's one of the craziest bass players I've ever heard in my life. Like the bass lines in that album alone is enough for me to fall in love with this. And goddamn, just like front to back. Obviously, the standout is Hope. That is their most known song. I think mostly because Sublime recorded it for 40 Ounces of Freedom. They did a cover of it because they were like a favorite band of theirs. And they did, like a lot of people did that. And Bikeage is also like right after it. That is like one of the best 1-2 punches. I think that is the straight edge love song because it's all about a guy who's in love with a girl who's, fall into that way of things. So, but the thing I love most about it, especially with like Hope, is like, or My Age or anything, it's like all these songs are like lovelorn songs, but they're almost bitter in a way. Like they come from a very kind of not so much bitter, but like a very hurt place.
Yeah.
And that is unheard of in this genre because a lot of at this time, Black Flag's cranking out like TV Party and stuff like that, or Suicidal Tendencies doing Institutionalized. And then here come these guys that are like, I like this girl and she doesn't want to give me the time of day. Like, I'm going to make her regret it, but it probably won't happen. Yeah. So I know these guys have been given the moniker of the forefathers of pop punk, and it absolutely, you could draw the line of if this band doesn't happen, you don't get Blink-182, you don't get Green Day. And bands
Blink, I think that's fair.
Especially Travis Barker even said when he saw the Descendants, that's like what made him get into punk rock. It was like that was one of his favorite bands. So,
oh shit, yeah. When you mentioned the kind of tone that they had where they were like kind of like not necessarily angsty, but it was like you mentioned, like there's this girl and I can't have her or whatever, and I'm gonna be sarcastic. There was a lot of sarcasm I found. With some of their songs.
A lot of sarcasm in this album, especially with like Suburban Home and 16.
Not even necessarily in that album. Like if you one of the albums that I kind of checked out for this was 2004's Cool to Be You, and the one that I noticed in particular was Blast Off, and then Dog and Pony Show as well. Blast Off. It has that opening lyric. I gotta find it here now. But it opens and closes with the same.
It's a fart joke. It's a extended fart joke.
Oh well, yeah.
Because it is me after all.
Yeah. But yeah. I think if I had to rank the albums that I listened to, I would say I'm gonna stick with. Where is it? There it is. I'm gonna stick with "I Don't Want to Grow Up" as my favorite. I think that was just the best in terms of their sound.
Okay, it's funny. That's like my least favorite album.
Really?
It's second to last. All is actually my least favorite, even though it has one or two of my all-time favorite songs by them. I think it's like tonally, it's kind of just like all over the place. And there's also some really bad songs in there too, like Iceman, I Can't Handle, or they had a habit of going into these long jazzy instrumental tracks towards the later years. Yes. But I Don't Want to Grow Up does have Silly Girl, and Silly Girl is one of the most purely good pop songs ever written. Yeah.
And then I would say the other two, Milo Goes to College, and then Cool to Be You was another great one. I found it kind of adapted to the trends that were going on at the time, like when they were in the 2000s. The guitar just kind of had a particular sound to it, and whatnot. But yeah, if you're into pop punk, you need to check these guys out. I think they're kind of like one of the pillars.
Yeah, and especially because so they disbanded again in like 88, 89. And then we're gone for a bunch of years because Milo went back to school, got his PhD. He's actually a doctor in chemical. He's a professor in chemical engineering. He works for DuPont. He's actually like wicked, really smart. Okay. And then write songs about boners and farts. So go figure. But it's just that duality of this band I love. But the rest of the band still played together. They just formed the band off. And a whole other collection of albums right there. A bunch of different singers. Scott Reynolds is usually regarded as like the best. Of course, he did get to sing the best all song, which is She's My Ex. But I think once they hitched to Chad Price, who has been their singer ever since, so I would highly recommend, I think it's still on Amazon Prime, but there is a documentary about these guys called Filmage, and it covers their entire career. And like front to back, and it's like all these people they get to interview, like Rancid, and like Dave Grohl goes on gushing about how much this is one of his favorite bands of all time. And he even says
that makes a lot of sense.
He even says like Milo Goes to College is one of those records. He's like, if it had come out 15 years later, those guys would be millionaires living in mansions, and it is absolutely true. It was like way ahead of its time. It was just like great band, right place, just completely wrong era. And it also talks a lot about like Bill Stevenson, actually, the drummer, almost died. He had this massive brain tumor. And when they took like images of it, and it's this whole like journey of him coming back from like just almost being dead, and then them making the last album they made and going on tour again. They're like, oh well, we can always just go whenever we want to, and they just randomly like, hey, we're gonna go away for a couple weeks, we're gonna just play. And I see them every time I get the chance. It has never been a bad show. So
that's cool. I like having those bands that may not necessarily like in this instance they are your favorite, but just having that consistency of being able to go back, and whether or not they're playing new stuff or old stuff, it's going to be the same.
Yep.
But yeah, very glad that you brought these guys up. Cool band to check out. And then when you mentioned that Dave Grohl was kind of heavily influenced with them, it's like, well, I like these guys need to stay. So
yeah.
I
would also recommend you spin up Everything Sucks. That is probably their second best record. Okay. That was like their first Epitaph record. That was their big comeback record. It also contains the song Doghouse, which is the very last recording of all the original members together before Frank Nevada sadly passed away a few years ago. But you can hear like the newer stuff, but then you hear that when you're like, that literally sounds like a good that came out of like out of their first album. Like, it is amazing how well that fits. So
okay,
yeah.
All right, on to question number 2. What is your favorite song to dance to?
All right, so I couldn't pick, so I gave you a double threat here. I gave you a tag team, I guess. So I'll go with the easier one to talk about first, and that is Glad Girls by Guided by Voices. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is just a fun song. I love this song. I love Guided by Voices. They were a band I got into a little later in life. But Jesus Lord, if you were just getting into them, have fun, strap in. They have like 50 albums. That is just like a band that constantly cranks out stuff and just keeps going. And they are master craftsmen in the doing catchy songs with really kind of ominous and kind of dark and kind of messed up lyrics. So, but this one in particular, I know it got semi-popular because it was used in an episode of How I Met Your Mother, which apparently digs into a lot of my record collection. Whoever did the music for that show, kudos to you, sir.
Which episode is this on?
Man. It's the episode of I think he had broken up with someone, and then he's like, but if I knew what was around the corner, this is how I would have reacted. And it's Glad Girl starts playing and he's running down the street. Yeah. And it's simple, it's catchy, it's infectious. Like, every time it comes on, me and fiance Knowles are just bopping around in the car or like while we're cleaning, and it is just absolutely fun. It is just such a happy song to listen to.
I would love to see that. I would love to hear this live at a venue, because I feel like this is the perfect song to kind of paint a scenario. You're seeing these guys at a concert. They come back up for like their second set and they play this song, and you're there with the person you're with, and you look over and you're like, I'm glad I got to see these guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one that kind of let's sit in. And you're right, it is easy listening.
It is a straight gut punch, and then it doesn't let up for like 2 straight minutes. So, and it's also like a really rocking good song too. It's got a fantastic like hard riff. Love it.
I would argue that your second song though is much better.
Let's talk about bands that don't get enough love, and that is the underground rap group People Under the Stairs, and their song "Trippin' at the Disco." Jesus Lord in heaven! If there was ever a song to immediately dance to the second you hear it, it is this one. I goddamn love this song. It is. Are you listening to it right now, or is it just play? Okay. Is it in your headphones? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So these guys are kind of like. I don't think they honestly ever really got their due, and it's a shame because I know like one of them, I can't remember the name of the guy, like passed away like about a year or two ago. So we're left with whatever they've done over the years, which is also just a fantastic collection. But this one it's just a funky song. It is just like as soon as it kicks in, that thumping bass, and you can just feel it, and then the turntables going, and then the big disco orchestra, big chorus, and it is just loud, and it is just like a wall of sound, and it is just so much fun. Like, honestly, you could just throw this on at a party. People just have a blast without even. It's like a song you could just immediately love without even knowing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm gonna steal this for Friday late night at work rotation to see how this would go over. But yeah, no, you hit all the notes. Like the disco vibe. I love the strings that come into the chorus. I think this got the right kind of sound to them. This is also one of the few ones that I could just listen to the drum beat. The bass in this is great, but I think the drum work is really good in terms of the hi-hats and just kind of how they're able to sound like they're almost having the beat on its own. But then when you add in the drum, when you're adding the kick and the snare, it just gives it such depth. And it's just like I'd love to hear this in a room full of people and just see what the reaction is. But yeah, no, excellent choice.
So one of the message boards I used to be on back when message boards were a thing. Ask your parents, kids, what a message board is. So we used to do semi-regular mixed trades. It was a favorite thing we did. And it used to just be like an all-out, like, who can out hipster the other person? Or sometimes, and every once in a while, I would just be like, yeah, here's all the shit I like. But a little while ago, they were like, hey, we haven't done one in a while. And it was a friend of ours had passed away. It was kind of like an anniversary. And we're like, hey, no, it's not. Let's all make like an old-fashioned like mixed trade. I was like, cool. And then I had the idea. I'm like, you know what? I just want to put together. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to put on stuff that is fun. And I just called it like Dance Break. And this was one of the songs I had to put on there immediately. I'm like, this goes on there right there. And I said to a friend of mine, he's like, dude, front to back, this is like my favorite mix because it is just so much fun to listen to. Everything is a bop. I got this on there. It was like Town Called Malice, Drive It Like You Stole It from the Sing Street soundtrack. Charlie XCX's best song. I saw a face backstage. You're making a face because I said Charlie XCX.
What song is it?
It's what's the title is now escaping me. London Queen.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I would have gone with Super Love, but
no, London Queen is her absolute best song. I'm sorry.
I love it. Would like a word with both of you.
Yeah. I mean, Boom Clap is the better song. Don't get me wrong.
I love it's not even technically her song.
I know it's her best work, but London Queen is my favorite song by her. But anyway, yes, this is just an absolute party jam front to back. It is just an instant crowd pleasing good time. So,
okay. All right, on to question number 3. Your favorite song on the current top 500.
Yeah. This was actually a lot of fun because I had to go through 500 songs, and I started with a list of 40. And then I had to work backwards from there. And I'm like, because there was like, I would love to give all these songs in this list the time of day that I could. But if I had to pick one, I think one that has kind of come up a lot. And I've listened to a lot recently because I've been kind of going back to these guys. And it is, have you ever fallen in love with someone you shouldn't have from the Buzzcocks? Yeah, baby! One of the greatest love songs ever written. It is absolute like early punk at its finest. These guys are killing it. And it is such a relatable topic of like, you were falling in love with this person and you shouldn't. Like, it's not a good idea. And the thing I love most about it, it's a song that gets better the older I get. As far as the subject matter and just like the lyrics, because when you're a kid, you find this stuff. It's just a song. I don't think about it. I'm like, this is just great. It's rocking. I could sing along to it. It is just like perfectly constructed front to back. There's a reason why this like launched them onto the charts in Britain, because like it is fantastic. And then years later, I find out the lead singer, who's I don't remember names. You'll have to forgive me. I didn't realize he was actually bisexual and wrote this song on purpose to not include any type of mention of gender or pronouns.
Huh.
On purpose. So this could apply to anybody in any situation. He wanted a kind of a universal, what's the word I'm looking for, kids? Diversity. That people could all kind of relate to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how well that works. And it works like gangbusters here. There is never a mention of like, this is a girl or a guy or anything. Like, this is the person that I am in love with. And it's just such a beautiful song. I've heard many renditions of it, and every time I'm like, God damn, I love this song. It just sings to me so well.
All right. Yeah, the first time that I had heard this, a Canadian punk band by the name of Billy Talent.
I was hoping you were going to say Dayglow Abortions.
No, I'm a little too old for that. But yeah, Billy Talent was the first time I heard them, and it's great. I like the kind of the openness in the verse when it just has like that soft kind of guitar lick, but then you have the drums in the back doing pretty much the build up in between, and then like you said, ever fallen in love with someone you shouldn't have fallen in love with, and then it's had that do like it has these deep lyrics, but we're still gonna rock out to it regardless. And I love songs like that. That it's like from musically they're one thing, but if you delve into the lyrics, it's an entirely different story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just goddamn, I love this song so much. So, and me trying to talk about it doesn't even remotely do justice to how great the song actually really is. So.
All right, on to question number 4. Favorite concerts. Now, similar to favorite song to dance to, you did not give one answer. You gave a podium of answers.
I couldn't pick just one. I've seen a lot of crazy shows in my life. I mean, I saw the last time the Ramones played in Philly, which was a great show. I've seen Fugazi a whole bunch of times. I've managed to see Arrested Development. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. So when I had to go through all of those, there was no way I was going to get it down to like a singular show. And I'm going to have to apologize because I'm going to need to open up another tab for this one in a minute. So I'll start with the easy one first. One of my all-time favorite shows was 1996, the Descendants reunion tour. For obvious reasons, this was my favorite band, and they had just reformed. Yes. Everything Sucks just came out. I have worn it to the nub. That show sold out in 20 minutes.
Oh, shit.
No time. They were playing the TLA, and if anyone knows the TLA in Philly, yeah, that's not a big venue. So it sold out real fast. The girl I was dating at the time managed to get me a ticket. So I was thrilled. And this show, front to back, is like one of the best punk rock shows ever. Because the opening band was the Swingin' Utters, who are fantastic and put on a fantastic show. The next band was the greatest band to ever come out of New Jersey, the Bouncing Souls. And that was the first time I got to see them. And this is Maniacal Laughter had just hit. So I was like, holy shit, this is going to be amazing. And they were fantastic. And then the Descendants come out and play for almost 3 hours. Jesus Christ, it was like 3 encores. I couldn't get enough. Like every song you ever want to hear, they played it. People were crazy. I haven't danced so much. So.
That's the best feeling in a concert when you go and you're like, I wonder if they're gonna play this song, and they do, and it's just such a satisfying feeling.
Yeah.
So how long had it been since they had gotten back together? Like they split up in '88. You said
it was '88.
So 8 years.
So funny enough, they played a secret show because actually Milo DuPont, the place Milo works at, is actually local to Philly. So years ago in the 90s, there used to be a place called City Gardens. A lot of bands played the City Gardens. And All was going to play a show there. And I forget which singer it was that was with All at the time, but I think he fell ill and couldn't perform. So Milo, since he was local, showed up, and it was an impromptu Descendant show out of nowhere. Like they played like a couple All songs, but barely any. And like, holy shit. The roof came off that place. And it was like one of those things like, God, I wish I could have been there for that, but I couldn't. So whatever. It's fine. So what are you going to do? But this show was amazing. So yeah, it was like almost 10 years of like nothing. And then they just come out and hit the road, and they toured for 1.5 years, 2 years straight. Because I saw them 3 times during that. They played that. Then they played the Warped Tour that year. And then they played again. It's like later that year, it was them, Guttermouth, and Less Than Jake. So that's just the weirdest combination of fucking people.
Man, I haven't heard the name Less Than Jake in fucking years.
Yeah.
Because they do. Oh man, is that the? Do you think it's strange? How you think and how you left and how you think, pretending not the same as you. Is that them?
Maybe I always think of Johnny Quest things from Sellouts. That's where I go. So
yeah. All right, the next concert that you had up.
So my absolute favorite concert of all time. This is like the first concert I ever got to really go to. I was taken to a concert as a kid. I went and saw Genesis. So that kind of doesn't count. I was too young. It was the Invisible Touch tour. I wasn't really old enough to appreciate that.
But Bill, this is the world we live in. Oh,
I'm gonna hang up. To be clear, but anyway, so the first concert I ever bought my own ticket to, I ever got to go see. I went on my own, and it was Lollapalooza '93. And holy Jesus Christ, I can't even begin to describe how awesome this show was. So here was the main stage. These were the main stage bands you got to see that year: Primus, Alice in Chains, Dinosaur Jr., Fishbone, Arrested Development, Front 242, Babes in Toyland, Tool, and Rage Against the Machine. That was one day. One day. That was just the main stage. So, then all the side stages, I caught Sebadoh, I caught Luscious Jackson. I think, like, who else was there? Hold on, I got a list. Girls Against Boys played. Thurston Moore randomly just did a set. The Goats, which is an underrated rap rock band, who are fantastic. I really wish more people would check out those guys. Archers of Loaf, Combustible Edison. I was like, Jesus God, if you ever wanted like a microcosm of that point in time, it was this show. And also lives in my memory for the worst reason ever, because Rage Against the Machine didn't technically play.
The bastard.
No. So hold on. This is a show where they famously came out for a half hour, buck naked on stage with their dicks out, and PMRC taped to their chest with their mouths taped shut in protest because Tipper Gore is an asshole. So
PMRC.
Parents Music Resource Center. They were basically the people that invented labeling records.
Yeah, there was like a whole congressional thing about it. Like,
shit.
They're basically the forefront of music censorship because Tipper Gore heard Darling Nikki and freaked the fuck out, basically. But they couldn't go after Prince, so they went after Twisted Sister instead.
The lineup
Prince
of people,
had lawyers.
The lineup of people who spoke at that congressional hearing is fucking nuts. You have Dee Snider, John Denver, and Frank Zappa.
That's it.
What?
Yeah. It was a weird one.
Yeah. I feel very young. I feel very much a baby because this is the year. This is the year that I was born. That I came into this earth, and I only recognized fucking Tool and Rage Against the Machine. But yeah, of the openers that you had talked about, or maybe people that weren't on the main stage, who was the band coming out of that show that you're like, I need to listen to more and more of these?
Oh, guys? It was definitely a tie between the Goats and Sebadoh. You specifically would love Sebadoh.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. They were one of the Seattle's sub pop bands, but like, don't let that get in the way. They put out some great stuff, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. And then the Big Daddy, the number one concert.
All right, so this one's just because it's the most memorable, but and I will start this with a story. So my friend worked at this place called the Blue Comet. It is in Glenside, PA. It's a rockabilly bar. It's actually really great. It's a nice, kitschy place. Fantastic, just ambiance. But
Andrew, you may as well get in here because you know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah. So it is actually it's a really nice place to go and just hang out. It's the food's good, and it's just like it looks like an old time kind of bar. And every Sunday night they would do rockabilly night. They would have a live band come in, just play. And there was this band, the Razorbacks, that played like almost every other month, and they always killed it. And my best friend's roommate in college, he worked there. He worked in the kitchen. He washed dishes like through college. So this is like 2002, I want to say, maybe 2000, 2002, somewhere in between that area. And 2001, I remember it was 2001. It's a Sunday. We're hanging around, playing, video games, not doing anything. So my friend Eric, his roommate Mike, who worked there, calls us. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing tonight?" All right, we don't have any plans. He's like, "Get down here now." It's like 3:30. We're like, "Why? What's going on?" He's like, "Brian Setzer is going to come on and do a random set because he's just in the area, and the president of his fan club is like nearby and told him about this bar. He's going to come play at the Blue Comet and just surprise everybody." People are finding out quick because this is like kind of pre-internet still, but word still got around somehow like wildfire. And anyway, get down here now. We hop in the car. We get down there. This place has maybe a capacity of 80 people. There are 200 people in this place.
Yeah, it is tiny.
It is tiny, and we are packed. And I am like literally, I think I got engaged to the woman in front of me just because we were shoved into each other. Like there was just no way around this. So Brian Setzer shows up and starts playing with his band. I have managed to secure a spot, and I'm not lying. This is the distance between me and Brian Setzer. He is literally right in front of me. There is no stage in this place either. So we were just like, I could literally
you're just eye level. Yeah.
I could have played his guitar for him. He plays for 2 hours just randomly. And kudos to the band. And I feel it was the Bullets. That's who it was. They didn't know half the songs, but managed to pick up the pace. It was pretty great. And he goes off. Brian Setzer's killing it. If you've never seen Brian Setzer live, fix that fucking immediately before that man leaves this earth, because that guy puts on a goddamn show. I saw like the orchestra when he was doing that. Amazing. When he had that whole big piece orchestra. And then just like later on, he kind of did another like rockabilly band. But like that guy's an entertainer through and through. And that is absolutely worth your time. But like kills it. Just like every song you'd want to hear, randomly play like a bunch of old rock tracks. Brought the house down in a tribute to what's his name, because he had just passed. That's around the time frame of this. George Harrison.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was right around when George Harrison just passed, and I believe he did "When My Guitar Gently Weeps." I think I might be mistaken. It might have been another song.
That sounds like the kind of song that someone giving a tribute to George Harrison would pick.
Yeah. Fucking brought the whole house down. So it was amazing. And apparently he hung out for like a few days afterwards and would just like come into the bar, hang around, and apparently was just there one night. And then somebody was like, "Hey, I have a guitar, you want to play?" And he just like played a guitar in Blue Comet for like the 8 fucking people that were there. So coolest dude ever. I fucking love it.
So yeah, I wasn't sure who you were talking about whenever you first mentioned it, but then I threw on his most played song on Spotify, "Jump, Jive, and Wail," and then I was like, okay, it's this guy.
From the Stray Cats. That's really what he's from.
Yeah. To see that style live would just, and especially like in like this, I think you sold it perfectly in that venue where it's at least double the overcapacity. And just to see everybody kind of swinging around to that kind of stuff, that'd be a time and a half.
Yeah, fucking, it was amazing. Yeah.
All right, on to question number 5. Your favorite music video, but we had already kind of discovered what your favorite music videos were way back when we started the kind of the season with the draft. But you brought up a couple good ones.
Yeah, so we'll start with the one that is eternally my backup, just because I love it so much, and it's "Scenario" from A Tribe Called Quest. First off, it is the Tribe Called Quest, and it is the leaders of the new school. Goddamn, these guys are just fantastic. And the Tribe Called Quest is it's a constant juggling match of them or Public Enemy for my favorite rap group of all time. It is always, it's depending on the day. It usually will lean more towards the Tribe Called Quest, but I love Chuck D a lot. But "Scenario" is just like an absolute fun banger of a song, and the music, yes, they really were. So the music video is just a blast. It all looks like it was done in Real Player back in like the 90s, and it's fantastic. It's got a bunch of like corny computer graphics, and it just cracks me up. And I think that's part of the charm of it, is just how kind of hokey and fun it is, because it really highlights just how much fun the song actually is. And this is like, you could throw this on at a party, everybody immediately knows what it is, everybody launches into it. I think like that verse from Busta Rhymes is probably one of the most lampooned and borrowed from verses in the history of rap. I know like Little Kim has done it. A few other people have done it. They it's the row like the Dungeon Dragon, like because that is just god damn, that's an A+ line. So
can I actually interject for a second with like a fun fact about that?
Sure.
Verse?
Yes, I'm gonna grab a drink. Actually, you
Go for it.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm
so
gonna freshen up here. So
cool. So I recently found out that during that time period, no one wanted to be the last verse on a hip hop song because basically it was just like the anchor. It was like the opening was generally the part that everyone kind of fought for. So when doing this song, everyone was like, I don't want to do the last verse on this. And Busta was like, I'm gonna fucking do the last verse on this one. He writes it and he records it, and literally everyone else who had just done a verse was like, so I'm going to actually rewrite and redo my verse now, because Busta's was so good that everyone was like, I'm changing my verse now.
Yeah. And it's funny because he was my second favorite member of the Leaders of a New School. Charlie Brown was always my favorite. I thought Charlie Brown was a criminally underrated MC. So also got the Brooklyn for Brooklyn. Here you go. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do we got there?
It's a hoppy amber.
Okay. I had a red IPA for the first time last week, and it was actually pretty good. So nice little balance of both. But yeah, so Scenario is great. Like you mentioned, like the real player and just like the 90s kind of fuzz that you had on it. It's really just them kind of toying around. But you guys were talking about it earlier. I think Busta Rhymes has one of the best like introductions in a song, and then when it's just like I think they just realize his power.
They bring him in the verse before he even starts.
Yeah.
They bring him in during Q-Tip's verse, and they're like, all right, Buster, fucking murder this, please.
Yeah. And then whenever and they kind of ramp it up and they kind of make that the forefront, because whenever he comes in, they cut out almost the entirety of the beat and really just let him kind of set the tone. And then in the video itself, it's a glimpse into what he would later on do, because we talked about it with Rue on the first episode. His favorite music video was anything by Missy Elliott and Busta Rhymes. And you get the sense of that in this because he's kind of has that like chaotic good energy, I guess you would say.
He is a force of nature every time he would show up. Yeah, there's no like that guy was great. Yeah, still is. God bless him. But that is definitely one. And it is honestly it's fantastic. It is perfect piece of hip hop culture. You should really go out of your way to watch it. Yeah. Let's talk about the hipster choice that I picked. And I say that lovingly because one of my all-time favorite musicians, just in general, of everything this guy touches, turns to just fucking gold, is Mike Patton. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Mike Patton, lead singer of Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, Phantomas, Tomahawk. This guy is easily one of the most creative musical artists of our time. I can't describe, like, you can't pigeonhole what this guy can do. Just his vocal range alone. I've watched videos where people are like, you shouldn't be able to do these two things right next to each other, and this guy manages to do it. So my Patton's fucking brilliant. And I love Faith No More. Faith No More is like an all-time favorite band of mine. He was not even the original lead singer. Famously, he replaced the lead singer.
Okay.
Yeah. So I feel bad because I can't remember the original singer's name, but they bring Mike Patton on for The Real Thing. That's where they have their big hit Epic. And then they blow up. That is like a monster hit. And then they release, after that, it's Angel Dust, which is, I think, my second favorite album of theirs. It's great. King for a Day is fine. But then we get to Album of the Year. And holy shit, Album of the Year lives up to that title. Album of the Year is their best album, front to back. Between like Strip Search and everything else, this is amazing. But for this album, they made a music video for the song Last Cup of Sorrow, and it is fucking awesome. if you are not familiar, Last Cup of Sorrow is a fantastic song, but the whole music video is an homage to Vertigo. They literally redo Vertigo, right down to the crazy spinning effect, which lends itself so well to the music video format. Just the aesthetic, the filming in like San Francisco, Mike Patton doing the whole like and oh my god, what is her name? What is her name? That's the woman in the video. Jennifer Jason Leigh is the
Kim Novak.
female part. Yeah, Kim Novak. I almost said something else, but yeah, and it is just so cool to see them recreate this movie the way they do, and also the song is just goddamn incredible. So it is a hoot. Like, it is the perfect marriage of music I love and classic film. Like, how could you not love something like this and watch it a million times?
Yeah, I love the song in this. I think the guitar in it is great. It like kind of it leans into a little bit of doom metal, but the great things about doom metal where it just kind of sits on the note and then lets everything else kind of rock out. I have.
But then you juxtapose it with like Mike Patton singing almost an opera over top of it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen Vertigo. The only Hitchcock movie that I've seen is Rear Window, and I thought that one was just fine. But the music video itself, I like knowing that now because it kind of makes a lot more sense following the story. I love the shot of this in general where they're at the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yep.
And then it's just they're like she jumps off and then he goes after to get him. But it's just like I don't know what filter they threw on it or something.
It really because it looks like it's from the 1950s.
It does, yeah. It looks awesome.
Little things like that. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're into 2000s hard rock, I'd recommend giving this a check out. And then
this might even have been like the 90s still. Like this is yeah. God, Faith No More is fantastic. They really are. That's a band. You should just listen to their entire, just front to back. Just listen to it all. You'll have a blast because like the Real Thing is fine. Like that's a good album. But once Angel Dust hits from then on, they really let like Patton just like his creative juices off. And then he just hog wild. Yeah.
All right. We'll get on to question number 6. Your favorite musical?
Pass.
No. Okay. On to question number 7.
Yeah. So I famously hate musicals. Hate musicals. So I ironically love 3 musicals, and it is The Apple, Xanadu, and Chicago. So don't ask me why I like Chicago. I don't know why either. It's weird. I don't make sense. So surprisingly enough, my favorite musical of all time, I decided not to bring here because I don't feel like discussing Dancer in the Dark because I'll never watch it ever again. Ever. Okay. But the thing I like most about Dancer in the Dark is because the reason why I hate musicals so much is I can never rectify why are you randomly fucking singing for no good reason. Yeah. Like I feel like Norm Macdonald in an old SNL skit where he's in like he's in West Side Story and everyone's singing and he's like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Like, why are you doing this? You just broke look, you guys this was planned. So
and that was like because like that was when Robert Downey Jr. was in the cast.
He was the Patrick when he came back to host.
Was Patrick Warburton? Or it was
But yeah, it's a hilarious skit. So but the thing I like Dancer in the Dark is like there is a plot device that explains why the musical numbers are happening. It's our break from reality. So I appreciate that kind of thing if you just work it into the narrative. And there was a movie pretty recently that I adored, and because IMDb classifies it as a musical, no, technically it's just a movie about music, but they classify it as musical, so we're gonna fucking talk about Sing Street. I fucking adore Sing Street. Love this movie. Fucking love it. It is like if you've ever been in a band, this movie just speaks to you in like a romantic way. It is like a kid discovering how much he loves making music, and it's all about the girl, really. But it awakens this creative process in him. And all the big musical numbers are them making music videos, or it's his imagination. So there's like a plot device for all the songs happening. So I appreciate that. And not to mention, so this is a lot of like new wave inspired songs, a lot of that stuff, a lot of Cure, a lot of Duran Duran. And the thing is, all the original songs in this movie are goddamn amazing. They sound like they came out at that exact moment in time. I don't know how the hell you pull that off so well. Like, honestly, Beautiful Sea is the best Cure song that was never written by The Cure. Like, that song is goddamn perfect. I love it. I know everyone, like, Driving Like You Stole It's the best song, but Beautiful Sea is my favorite song on this soundtrack. Just because of, like, that sounds like Robert Smith decided not to go with it for some reason, and someone else picked it up. That is the best way I can describe it.
I really like the music and kind of the overall soundtrack for it. I think given like the era that we're in now, and you look at like Guardians of the Galaxy among others, where it becomes let's curate the things that we loved and let's see if they kind of stick with this generation. This is basically kind of like you were mentioning earlier. Hey, like let's just make this the best new wave soundtrack that we can, and it carries that same tone, that same tone throughout it. I agree that "Drive It Like You Stole It" I think is the best song. Yeah. I also love that fucking Rio is on here from Duran Duran, because normally I fucking hate that song, but in
we're
the
different.
Right, so. in the right setting, it has just the right amount of cheese to go on with the rest of it.
And not to mention Town Called Malice, God, was it Stay Clean by Motorhead, Stepping Out by Joe Jackson. Just this whole soundtrack is fucking great.
Man-Eater, arguably the second best Hall & Oates song.
I mean, the Philadelphia royalty. You can not say a bad thing about Hall & Oates in my presence. So.
No, I can't. Surprisingly enough, of the three movies that we're talking about today, this is the one that I could not find that wasn't available.
I'll get you a copy. So
okay.
So fun story. I raved about this movie when it came out, and I hadn't seen it since, but it has always like been a fond part in my heart. So when I was like digging for this episode, I was like, I should rewatch this movie. And then I'm with Beyonce Knowles, and she's like, I'd kind of like to watch it. I'm like, oh, you're going to love this movie. I love this movie. You're going to love this movie. Spoiler alert for a movie from a couple years ago. We watched this movie. And I'm like, what'd you think? She's like, what the fuck is this ending? What is the end of this film? And I don't want to spoil it, but she's basically like, is no one going to freak out? This kid's running away. And I'm like, why do you have to think so reasonably and logically? Can't you just enjoy it? And it was funny. I love her. I love her so much.
My favorite example of that is showing somebody a movie that I love that they ended up fucking hating. Was the Grand Budapest Hotel. I showed my ex-wife and her friend the movie.
Hence why she's the ex-wife.
Exactly.
Because ex-wives have terrible taste. My ex-wife's favorite movie, The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville.
Hurt my ex-wife's favorite movie, P.S. I Love You, Gerard Butler.
Don't regret the divorce. I do not regret the divorce. Yeah.
Thanks, dog. Oh, good times. All
By the way, also, we went and saw The Dark Knight. She fucking hated it.
Oh, shit.
I remember she was pissed we left early. I'm like, I won't marry you.
All right.
I did anyway. Stupid.
Yeah, marriage is an interesting thing. Question number 7. What is your most overrated act? And I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna start putting my guitar as a shield, and then you go ahead.
Taylor Swift.
How dare you?
I don't get it. I don't get this legion of followers. I don't get why everyone's freaking out. I don't know what a fucking eras are, but I don't give a fuck. It sounds like hipster douchebag nonsense. I feel like the Eras tour is the music version of a deconstruction restaurant. Like, I don't give a fuck. Put this together and make it coffee. I don't care what it looks like apart. Stop fucking with my food. That having
But Bill,
said,
you cannot understand how your food comes together until you've seen it taken apart.
I can take it apart at home. I come out, spend my money, put the shit together on my plate, sir. This is what I'm paying for.
Have both of you guys seen the menu yet?
Yeah.
So this is like when you
Taylor
mentioned
Swift
that,
fans all are on the menu.
So I feel like
that is absolutely apropos. John Leguizamo's character fucking has front row tickets for the Eras tour.
Scott Harvey, close your ears for a second.
But he doesn't like me anyway. It's fine.
Yeah. When you mention people that love the Era tour, it reminds me of the scene whenever it's like just the dips but no bread, and then they go to the food critic and like, what an avant-garde way of doing this. They're leading you into that you're gonna have this bread, but it's just the dips, and you have to appreciate the dip. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. No. Okay. Now, that having been said, I'm not saying that she's a bad musician. She's obviously a very good musician. There has been, honestly, Style is their best song. I don't care. Fucking fight me in an alley for the month of August, but Style is the best song she ever did. Anti-Hero's fine, but I don't give a shit because it's played out. Everybody's played it. I'm so tired of hearing that song. It's good. Let it go. But Shake It Off is catchy. And after that, I don't give a fuck. I just don't. I just really don't. But I just people are fanatical with her, and I don't understand why. And I get tired of hearing how this is the greatest artist ever to live. And I'm like, I guarantee you, she's got a crew of fucking songwriters that are just engineering her to be a fucking album. I don't care. Give me Fugazi's In on the Kill Taker. Those 4 guys wrote that shit, and that is one of the best records ever made. So I'm just saying, Dave Grohl goes to a studio by himself and shits out a Foo Fighters record. That's impressive.
And and it's not even I need to make this record for money. It's, I'm coping with the loss of my best friend.
She was born rich. She doesn't need money.
Well, exactly. No, sorry. About Dave Grohl, rather.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah. But no. So I think, to speak from my generation, the reason that I like Taylor Swift as much as I do is because I heard her a lot on the bus. And this was back when she was big, she was the biggest country thing. I would even argue more popular than Carrie Underwood. She had Should Have Said No, Picture to Burn.
And I hate country, so that explains a lot of things. Saying you're the best at country is like saying you're the least evil dictator.
Now listen. There's a queen of country that we adore in this room, and that is one Shania Twain.
Who the fuck are either of these people?
Shania. Okay, you have homework. We're gonna listen. We're gonna give you some Shania.
I don't do homework, buddy. I'll tell you, I like 2 country artists in the history of time, and I don't give a fuck about everybody else. It's Johnny Cash and Hank Williams the first. I don't give a shit about anything else.
Not Merle Haggard.
Okay, he's fine.
Yeah.
Some of his stuff was kind of that way too. But,
I agree with you on the Eras tour thing. I think that's dumb. Especially imagine whenever you mentioned that, I was imagine if Bare Naked Ladies did a set without Stephen Page and then with Stephen Page. We'll bring them back just to kind of show all the differences. Credited.
Yeah, you get what you're saying. But also, so how can I try to find? Okay, so there's a band called Bad Religion. You've heard of Bad? Yeah, it sounds familiar. So they're one of the most prolific punk bands that ever happened. So when they came on, put out their first record, it's amazing. I remember when Napster was kind of a thing. A friend of mine went crazy, got all their records. And there is one Bad Religion record. It's out of print. You can't find it. It's impossible to find. Doesn't exist. Because the Napster, he managed to piece it all together and get all the songs. And I guess they tried to become Van Halen somehow for some reason, and it's terrible, and it's a lot of synth, and it's kind of weird. And you think it's the band that wrote like 21st Century Digital Boy, and all of a sudden they're writing like a half-baked Panama, and it is easily one of the worst records I've ever heard. And good for them for basically extinguishing it from existence as best they could, because it's terrible. It's a terrible record. I hate that record. I would listen to that record on repeat 900 times before I ever listened to Look What You Made Me Do ever again.
That's man.
That's what I'm saying.
that song and that record can just
everything. Like you just disappeared up your own ass, lady.
I remember working, and they were announcing that Taylor Swift is coming out with this new album next week. It's like, all right, cool. I can't wait to check this out. And they're like, okay, here's the day. Here's her new single, Look What You Made Me Do. And I had the flattest look on my face when it came on. It's like, really? We're doing this like Fergie kind of nonsense, like kind of the same thing that she does in like My Humps. Yeah.
Also, we'll end the conversation with this hot take: Katy Perry better than Taylor Swift. Gonna just drop that right there. I love Katy.
I think you have an argument. I think you have an argument with that. She's definitely
what?
Yeah. No, I'd say.
I said what I said.
I would agree that Katy Perry is more entertaining than Taylor Swift. I still think that Taylor Swift might be a better musician. But I think it's kind of apples and oranges in that sense.
Yeah, I am not a closet Katy Perry fan, to be clear. I am a proud Katy Perry fan. I love Katy Perry.
So. Okay, we'll go on to question number 8.
Also, her last song, "Dreamin'," like the song she put out, better than anything that Taylor Swift's done the last couple of years. Just saying. So, her last big hit, yeah, it's incredible. You should check it out.
All right. Question number 8. Your favorite score?
Yeah, this was actually pretty simple. It was down to like 1 or 2, and I was gonna go this one because this is the first score I ever bought a soundtrack for just the score of the movie, and it's The Crow. So if you're of my age and my age bracket, you absolutely owned The Crow soundtrack. It came in the mail with like samples of detergent. When you lived in the 90s, just everyone got a copy of it because it's fucking incredible. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. It is amazing. But the score for this movie is equally as good because it's so fantastic. And honestly, I think Graham Revell is criminally underrated as a composer. If you're not familiar with him, he is. And if you look up the films he's done a lot. You'd be surprised. And he actually was from New Zealand. He was from an industrial band called SBK. And so he has a background in a lot of industrial and also a lot of what is referred to as world music. And if you listen to this score, it is all over the score of this film because holy shit, it goes every different direction and somehow all works and creates the most wonderful atmosphere for this movie. There'll be grinding guitars, thumping drums, and at the same time, like Middle Eastern flute pieces just out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden, a children's choir, and it sounds like madness, but when you put it all together, and especially in the context of the film, it all works beautifully. It really, really does.
The context of the film, I think it does wonders. That first like half hour, 45 minutes in particular, I think it does a really good job of just setting up the tone. And like this movie in general is that first half is great. The second half kind of takes a bit of a dip. I couldn't give 2 shits about the villain in it and like kind of that final battle that they have. But I think tonally wise and atmospheric wise, I think this is the best version of kind of like Batman, I guess you would say, and like this dark and brooding, but like he is also the villain as well. Like I think he goes above and beyond antihero because he obviously has a heart. Yeah. But then he also handles things with a more villainous kind of with a really villainous, psychotic kind of approach. And you mentioned like the guitars in it, and it's very, very metal at times. I think it's the second time that they're having like the chase scene over on top of the buildings or whatever. I forget who the band was, but I could have swore that I heard NXS on the soundtrack, and I was like, no fucking way. That'd be such a no.
I know the scene you're talking about. It's actually Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, that
doing
was
a cover of Joy Division. So yeah,
that's great. But yeah, no, this is a really really cool one to check out. I like the general aesthetic. Ernie Hudson is great in it. I think he did a solid job.
Yeah.
But yeah, one other thing that I wanted to mention, just more so about the movie, you don't really notice Brandon Lee as gone as you would think. I figured that he was going to be gone kind of partway through and then have him stand in, but they kind of balance it out quite well.
Yeah, no, it's such a good movie, and it's a shame the tragedy that surrounds it. But goddamn if they didn't make one of the just fantastic film. So and honestly, check out a lot of the stuff Graham Revel's done. That guy really should just. I feel like he does not get the credit he deserves for just some of the scores that guy does. So.
Yeah. All right, on to question number 9. Your favorite soundtrack.
I gave it 2 because I couldn't choose because both of these are great in their own right. So I will start with the obvious. One of my all-time favorite soundtracks to one of my all-time favorite movies. It is Repo Man. If you're not familiar, Repo Man is one of the best films ever made. Don't fucking come at me for that. It is absolutely batshit bonkers, cuckoo bananas, and I love it. But this soundtrack is like a roadmap of early punk rock, and it is amazing. First off, they got Iggy Pop to write the theme. You're fucking welcome, right there. So you start. That's where you start, and then you get the Circle Jerks in there twice, and they're killing it. And then Fear, Suicidal Tendencies, just this entire thing front to back. I adore every minute of this. It is so good.
Yeah. So, sorry, I was trying to figure out which song in particular. But no, the soundtrack in this is unreal. I will absolutely give you that. I think TV Party was my favorite.
TV Party is amazing. And the best part is they don't even play TV Party in the movie. The only time it's actually played is Emilio Estevez is drunk, just sitting in a pile of trash, and he's just randomly singing TV Party, which is so fun.
You were mentioning Suicidal Tendencies because I knew one of the songs beforehand, listening or watching the movie, because one of these is in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, Institutionalized by Suicidal Tendencies, and I think that's just a great fucking song. This movie though is fucking bonkers. It's just
who'd have thought Mike Nesmith from the Monkees would have produced one of the most bonkers fucking films in the 80s?
Emilio Estevez is kind of like just a bland, like medium well steak in this. I couldn't give two fucks about him. And that dumb fucking like piercing. Like obviously, like this movie was made. This is made in the
84.
84. Okay, 84. Even worse.
Probably even a little before that, but yeah. So.
But yeah, whenever he starts doing cocaine with his friend in the car, I was like, okay, I don't really know where to go else from here. But yeah, this was a really good and kind of full circle how we were talking about the Descendants. I think it fits this vibe quite well.
Yeah. So speaking of cocaine, my other soundtrack was Superfly. So, this is like the worst cap secret in the world, and this is one of my all-time favorite soundtracks. Curtis Mayfield deserves to be in every Hall of Fame that ever existed for this one. So
you're damn right it is.
Because walk with me, Bar. You're making a movie, right? It's in the 70s. You're making a blaxploitation. I was like, hey, this movie, it's about a pimp, whatever. It's called Superfly. Think you can write it? I don't know what to do. Curtis Mayfield goes, you just sit down. You let me do this. Watch as I hit fucking threes. for 45 straight minutes. Every single song on this, flawless.
Just swishes,
back.
no rim
Just
at
like,
all.
well, not even go. If you could
Yeah.
somehow sink a 3 and then hit a home run
At the
and
same
then score a
time.
touchdown off at all same
Yeah.
time, that is what this album is. Yeah. And then somehow it's also a hat trick because he does it more than once. So, yeah, it is amazing.
You got some of the greatest songs ever made. Freddy's Dead, Little Child Running Wild, Push a Man. Like, boom, 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 boom,
And
boom.
even just the theme song, too. Fucking everything works. He is cooking on all 4 burners in this soundtrack. God bless that man.
Yeah, Curtis Mayfield, that's pretty cool. I did not check out this soundtrack, but I will definitely give it a listen.
Oh my God!
afterwards.
Of all
I know.
the things you could have skipped, you skipped this. But
Yeah,
I'm glad you watched Repo Man, though. I'm glad you did that. Yeah.
It's balanced. It balances on my letterbox. Nice.
Imagine if Marvin Gaye made What's Going On the album for a blaxploitation film.
Basically, it's what this is. Yeah.
But just with a little bit more funk.
Yeah. But it's somehow also Intervisions.
Same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It is just a masterwork.
One of the greatest
Jesus
albums
Christ.
ever made.
Fucking love it. It is just like you throw it on. I'm like, God damn, this is like, how the hell did he do all this?
Yeah, I'll have to, man.
Also, soundtrack sold better than the movie.
They pushed the soundtrack out months before the movie came out,
and it actually made more money off the soundtrack than the fucking movie. So that ought to tell you everything.
My last question before we transfer into the last one, and Andrew will know what I mean: is Superfly a good Shed record?
Oh my God,
I don't even know what that means.
So on the day that we are recording this, it is the lovely 420. If you're
then stop what you're doing. Get 3 bowls ready. Just sit down and listen to this. It's the chillest shit you'll ever hear.
All right, I will have to do that then.
This album is so chill. Snoop Dogg congealed out of it. It didn't even need sexual intercourse. That's how. Yep.
Yes.
Also, if you want something fun, the guy directed Repo Man. Go his next movie. You should watch that. It's called Sid and Nancy.
Oh yeah.
And then he took all the money he made off that, made Straight to Hell. I talk about that one a lot. If you want a fucking bonkers film, that's on Tubi. Joe Strummer.
I was about to ask if that's the Joe Strummer, Elvis Costello.
Is it a spaghetti western? It's random shit. It's literally a remade spaghetti western. It's like Joe Strummer, Dennis Hopper, Elvis Costello, Courtney Love. Fucking just like the Pogues are in there randomly. It is just insane. It's not a good film, but it is fucking worth it because it is just so cuckoo banana bonkers. I fucking love it. Yeah, it's just like one of those artifact films. You're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
Okay. Last or second last question, I guess, rather. Your favorite song to perform or sing?
Yeah, so I gave you answers for both of those. So perform-wise, we'll start there. It's not the most technically complicated song, but it's a song I love playing because it's a song I love to listen to, and it is Midnight Mile by the Bouncing Souls. I really, really love the Bouncing Souls. That is, we'll talk about that in the shit I'm listening to in a few minutes. They've been around for like 30 years, and they just get better. And they consistently just crank out albums, and they're just amazing. And they are constantly evolving sound-wise, while also still kind of sounding true to what they originally were. It's hard to do, but these guys managed to do it. And they shed a lot of the earlier stuff is very playful, very jokey. Like they have a song called Shark Attack. It's the funniest thing ever, you know. And they also have like the toilet song, and they literally have a song called These Are the Quotes from My Favorite 80s Movies, to give you an idea. It's fucking hilarious. And then 2 or 3 albums after that, you can kind of tell they're getting a little older and things shift. And this was the album, The Gold Record, which is what this is on, might be my favorite of theirs, just because it's front to back. It's amazing. Like every song is just a straight banger, and it's catchy, and it's good, and it's heartfelt. and it's soulful. But Midnight Mile to me is just one of their better songs that I don't think gets a lot of credit. And it's basically that it's a guy who's like, longing for his girlfriend or his significant other, and they're just apart from each other. And like all the lyrics are, like, we've been sleeping under unfamiliar skies, like talking to strangers in nights. And it's just like, I've been on the road and I'm weary and I'm tired. Just let me come home. Like, I will get to you. And it's just a fun song to play, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
I like this because as I was listening to music in general, and the song that came on that triggered this was "Faithfully" by Journey, and it's like, man, there's a lot of songs about bands being on tours saying that they miss people, and then you were talking about the lyrics, and I just kind of looked at the lyrics. It's like this is the best song to perform if you're like, I want to emit the same kind of energy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this one would be pretty cool. I'll have to check this one out later.
Yeah.
But you, with your other answer, you went after not only Andrew's heartstrings, but you also went after my own. Let's get into this one.
My song to sing is "What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding" by Elvis Costello and the Attractions. It is no secret Elvis Costello is an all-time favorite of mine. I have made that abundantly clear. And if I go to a karaoke, I am looking for 2 songs. This is the first one. If they don't have it, I'll take "Pump It Up," which is also because this year's Model's my favorite record of his. So
yes, great choice. Great choice. I have that on vinyl.
No Action, You Belong to Me, Pump It Up. Like, just forget it. Just
Lipstick
so
Vogue.
good. Everything. God damn it.
Oh my God, it's so good.
It really is. But what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding is just like it's honestly one of his best songs. And it is just so good. And he really is. He's almost like almost baritone in a lot of it. Like, it's weird. Like, he gets really deep, but then like hits it high for the choruses. And just the lyrics are amazing. Like, this guy's great. I adore Elvis Costello. He has done some questionable stuff, to be clear.
Yeah,
I don't recommend Spike. So,
yeah, I love Elvis Costello, and I think this song is great because it's very protesty, I guess, in a way, with also being just kind of like a generic pop punk song. My favorite of Elvis Costello's to play is Allison.
Allison's a good song. Yeah.
Washington
Detectives. New Amsterdam. That's a fucking song. God damn, that's a song.
I don't want to go to Chelsea.
I can't stand up, falling down.
Oh my God!
We could be here all day.
So good.
Yeah.
Well,
I do want to bring up a fun fact about this particular song. This I consider to be one of the greatest cover songs of all time. Because this was originally recorded by a group named Brinsley Schwarz. And it is fine. And Elvis Costello and the Attractions took a song that was at like a 6 or a 7 and bumped it up to a 17.
The correct answer to the greatest cover of all time is "Respect" by Aretha Franklin.
Ooh, good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about fundamentally altering the song forever.
That's the next draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
I could do a cover song draft. Don't you even worry about it.
If we're talking about Aretha Franklin, but also Aretha Franklin covers, not necessarily the best cover, but I think one that just gets overlooked somehow. She does a fucking killer rendition of the Border song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
To the point where like you would say that it is hers, and that it was kind of.
I'm just saying Otis Redding retired playing this song because she just fucking took it, and she's like, "Oh, it's hers now." Like, that is no way. She owned it.
God damn it! Do we have to do a fucking covers draft now?
Fucking, I will host that shit, and I'll tell you what the correct answers are. So anyway,
okay,
but yeah. So yeah, those 2 songs I adore, and I love playing, and I love singing. So there you go.
Nice. So yeah, that was the main list, and then now, as you see on the thumbnail, which is done quite well by Nazario, he even gets to this part in the thumbnail. 2 extra questions. Who are you currently listening to right now? And who are some people that you would like to see on the show?
Okay. So currently, speaking of the Bouncing Souls, they just put out their 15th, 10th, I don't know, record. So 10 Stories High. That has been on high repeat. It is amazing. They actually do a duet with Kevin Seconds from 7 Seconds in it. It's fucking rules. And there's a lot. They actually, it's funny enough, they wrote this album during the pandemic with their fans. So they set up a whole Patreon thing, and they did like Zoom calls with fans, and they allowed them to like input, and they wrote it with them. So it's kind of awesome. So there's a lot of like fan input into a lot of this. Also, CM Punk somehow is on there because God bless the internet. I love it. So that's a fun one. I've been really on somewhat of a shoegaze kick. So I've been digging a lot into like that kind of thing. And one of my favorite shoegaze bands is Lush. So if you like British shoegaze, they're great. But the lead singer, Mickey Berengi, started a band called Peroshka. And she is just constantly cracking out stuff through them. And I love it. And I can't stop listening to it. So that's been fun. Also, I did a thing in our group chat. I don't know if anyone knows about it. When Brooklyn posed the question of, hey, what's the best opening track to an album ever? And I'm an asshole. And I put together a playlist that's 5.5 hours long because that's what I do. And I forgot I love the fucking Donnas. Love the Donnas. I've seen them live 5 times. So I started working their albums back in again, and that's just been a joy to rediscover. I forgot how good Spend the Night is. That album's fantastic. So that's been a lot of fun. And there was something else. What else was I listening to? Oh, 3 Feet High and Rising.
Nice. Yes. Yes, baby.
Yeah. I forgot how much. Now, granted, I like De La Soul is Dead more.
Okay, fair. That's a fair.
Because it has the best De La Soul song on it ever. And that's a roller skating jam named Saturday.
Good choice. I would
Perfect
still
song.
argue that I Know is their best song.
Roller skating jam named Saturday is just pure greatness. I'm sorry. Front to back, perfect song. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question: who would you like to see on this show?
There's one person that came to mind thinking about that question when you just asked me right now. Peggy Gubbins has got to come on here. Like, she's a music person. That would be a fantastic time because I could listen to Peggy talk about music conservatively for 2 hours. So. Yeah,
check that out. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. Thank you, Bill, for coming. It's always great chatting music with you, or just chatting with you in general. Like even getting knocked out by.
I still feel bad about that.
I still had a great time. I still had a great time with that.
Powers Booth.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Guys, watch Fan Zone on Multiplex Entertainment to understand what's happening here.
But yeah, next week or next episode of Setlist is going to be a great one. I'm not going to say who it is, but man, there are.
I'll Venmo you $5. You can just tell me. This will be fun.
I don't have Venmo. Canada doesn't have
Canadian Moose Mo. Whatever you guys have out there.
All right, cheers, guys, and as always, drive safely.